All right. Another episode of Confessions of a Street Broker. And today I got with me my EB.
EB.
His name is EB to me,
EB.
and that means my everything brother.
That's correct.
And one of my best friends, man, and just, you know, it's we don't see each other as much, but man, I'm glad you're here. And
Life
when we
gets
do
in the
talk,
way.
it's like, EB. Matt Spellman, TIG Partners, Managing Director of Industrial. Thanks for being here, man.
It's an absolute honor. You know, this is watching all these episodes. It really is the who's who of DFW industrial real estate. So it's an honor.
Yeah.
It really is.
It's an honor for me to have you here, man. We got so many stories together.
Oh.
And I'm going to start with one.
Okay, let's hear it.
Had a lot of weather in Dallas-Fort Worth past couple of weeks.
Correct.
And one time you and I experienced a lot of weather.
Oh, Mastodon, Oklahoma.
Yes.
Oh.
So there's a band called Mastodon, which Matt Spellman and I both truly love. We're both metalheads at heart. And we discovered each other's love of Mastodon while sitting in our cubes
That is
on
correct.
Saturday mornings and blasting it away while we inputted our calls and got ready for the next week.
Oregon day.
Oregon time. And so, golly, I remember we were all pumped. It was like on a weekday afternoon, and we knew there was weather coming, but
We knew. And as soon as we got into Oklahoma, thought, boy, that's a pretty green sky we got there. That's
very questionable.
very questionable. State troopers lined up saying, hey, you probably shouldn't
Yeah.
do this. Thought, it's more of a guideline. Shouldn't.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll try it out. Yeah.
And I think we looked at each other and said, they have tornadoes up here, right? Have you heard of those? And
Yeah, we were familiar more north.
Yeah.
Nebraska, Kansas.
Yes.
Oklahoma's probably safe.
Yeah.
Incorrect.
And so me and Spellman are heading up to Oklahoma City on a random Tuesday or Thursday
It
night.
was
I can't remember what it was.
during the week,
Yeah.
for sure.
For the Clutch in Mastodon concert.
What a win.
Yeah. And we drive right into an F5 tornado.
That's correct. You're correct, sir. Every bit of F5.
Oh my gosh. So if anybody remembers the big F5 tornado that hit Moore and all those areas up there many, many years ago, we drove right through the middle of it.
Yes,
like,
we did.
We were in the eye of the storm. I don't know how we didn't just get lifted and killed or something. I mean, it was so stupid of us, but we didn't really care. We were just pressing onward to go to the show.
onward, upward, higher, higher. And I remember because we eventually got to the venue and it was not the American Airlines Center.
No.
We're talking about Mastodon and Clutch and Metalheads.
Yeah.
So this is a smaller venue, something very similar to what we would sell in Garland or Fort Worth, something like that. And so the weather was getting so bad. I remember looking outside and thinking, man, that rain looks different. There's something different about that rain. Well, it was going that way.
Yeah, it was going.
Thought, okay.
No, it was going horizontal, not vertical.
That is correct. It may have started out vertical. It did not end up that way. And so then they said, hey, man, this isn't happening. We've got a little bit of a natural disaster outside.
Yeah.
But okay, well, let's heed that warning.
Yeah.
So I remember driving away. And we make it past, and we parked down on this dirt road.
Yeah. Yep.
And I was I had the gray car, right?
Yep.
That's right. And so as we're driving back, we finally make it back to the hotel. And I remember looking and thinking, that parking lot doesn't look right. Maybe it's because there are two cars sunk underneath the water.
Yeah.
Maybe I won't go that way. Context clues. So we went around it, thank goodness, because that turned out to be 8 or 10 feet deep.
Yeah.
Made it back to the hotel. All I wanted was a Coors Light.
Yeah.
All I wanted. Bar was closed. Everybody was gone.
Yeah. Power was out everywhere.
EB, what do you want to talk about? Quite the experience.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was gnarly, dude.
I remember just running to the venue. It was like we pulled in and parked, and it was like, all right, we got to make a run for it.
That's right.
And we were just like running through like slosh and we're getting to this show. The power kept going out. That was the issue. They couldn't really finish. They tried
Stage
to play.
was set up. Everything was fine.
was ready
to
go.
go.
They were going to play. And then
It was brutal.
But man, driving into that, remember that hospital we drove past?
Yes, I do.
I mean, that hospital was just ripped to shreds.
It was horrifying.
Yeah.
But hey, it was Mastodon and Clutch, dude. We had to give it a run.
We did. It was awesome. But we made up for it. And
we did.
We saw them at Gillies, and we got introduced to oh my gosh, why am I drawing a blank here? The French guys.
Gojira.
Gojira.
Yeah. That's right.
I'm gonna go listen to them this weekend.
I mean, they're on my gym playlist.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, Gojira was there.
Yeah.
Mastodon, and is that when we paid the dude? I remember chickening out. I chickened out because we saw the line. I was oh my God, that's horrible.
Yeah.
You said, EB, let's just give that guy at the door $100.
Yeah.
I was like, all right, you can do it.
Yeah.
I chickened out immediately, right?
That was at
was that Gillies?
No, it wasn't Gillies. That was it was where Richard Rawlings had that venue right there. It used to be the Grand Theater.
That's right.
Whatever it is. It's not there now. I think Cantex actually owns that site now.
Do they really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And the security guard sitting there smoking a cigarette on the side. I was like, hey man, here's $100 bill. We want VIP. And dude, that worked.
Just like that.
Every time there was a show in town I wanted to go to, I never bought tickets again.
There's no reason to.
I was like, I'm just going to give that guy $100 and walk in.
$100 will always go a long way. Yeah. Whatever you want.
So that was good.
That's
so we got to make it up, but yeah, that was that was apocalyptic, man.
It was so bad, and I was driving back from to or from Austin in 95, 96, whenever that Gerald tornado happened, and I remember seeing that green sky and thinking the same thing. That's not a pretty green.
Yeah.
That's not a green I think I should be seeing. So this was remarkably similar to that. But this time we thought, let's roll the dice, give it a shot. What are the odds? Well, the odds not in our favor. So we lucked out. We really did.
So I was coming back from Oklahoma City yesterday, and I'd gotten rerouted the day before when I went up there because there was a wreck or something. But on the way back, and Will told me about this, but the Dollar Tree has like 1 million square foot distribution facility off of I-35 right there.
Okay.
Dude, I bet it probably had 300,000 feet ripped apart in the middle of it.
Really?
I mean, you could just see the racking and the goods the building just peeled open like a can opener from the storm.
Of a Dollar Tree. Yeah. That would be a tough insurance claim. Okay, tell us the value of all of your products. Like, well, this is $5. Hold on. Let me stop you right there. That's $5. Okay, let me guess the next one is the dollar. No. We're not to the dollar ones yet. That's also $5. Yeah. So that could be quite the circus for the insurance claim.
Oh my gosh, that is funny. Will get a kick out of that. So.
Wow. And I hope nobody was injured. I have to, the asterisk is I hope everybody's fine.
Yeah.
Very bad deal.
Oh man, that is hilarious. Well, let's get into your story, man. Why don't you just start? Where are you from? Where'd you grow up?
Okay, let's see. From Corpus Christi.
Yep.
I was born in Spawn Hospital. Yes, which seems
literally,
like a great place to
be spawned.
To be spawned.
Yeah.
From Corpus Christi, my dad was a Methodist minister.
Yeah.
My mom was a private school teacher. So the way the Methodist Church works is he went to Perkins School of Theology at SMU. And so when the bishop puts you in a church, he says, okay, he or she says, okay, grow this congregation and we'll see what happens after that. I mean, it's precisely vague like that. It really is. So my dad goes
precisely vague.
Yeah, and so he grows the congregation.
Spellmanism. Sorry, there's a lot of people have to listen for Spellmanism.
Yeah, there are going to be a lot of them. So he, grew the congregations down in South Texas, Kingsville, and surrounding areas. And so what happens is once you grow these congregations, the bishop says, "Okay, hey, great job. We're going to move your family, and you're going to go to this city." And you're going to grow that congregation.
Okay.
And, my mom and dad knew that was part of the drill.
Yeah.
So born in Corpus, lived in Kingsville, did some time in Austin, and my dad grew the church in Hyde Park from like 50 to 500.
Mm-hmm.
So the bishop said, "Great job.
Yeah.
Great job. We're going to now move you." And my dad said, "Oh, man, come on. You know, my son's going into high school.
Yeah.
You know, my daughter is in elementary school. Can I just stay here?" And Bishop said, "Let me think." No. Oh, okay. So my dad took a leave, and we moved back to Corpus Christi.
Okay.
Let's see. So he's now a history professor. He's retired. My mom and dad are both retired, but he went, he's a history buff. He's a historian. He's got 8 or 9 books out right now. One of them I'm currently reading.
Yeah.
Mom retired. But high school was great. The thing about Corpus Christi is I don't have any good stories from growing up because I was never in trouble.
Yeah.
It's impossible to get in trouble. You go fish or you go to the beach.
Yeah.
It's like, how was high school? I mean, it was great.
It's great.
But absolutely no stories about anything. It's almost as if it didn't exist. I know it was there.
Yeah.
But it's really hard to get in trouble down there. Played tennis and baseball. I loved both. I was really good at tennis.
Yeah.
I don't mind saying that.
No, you've always played. You were always tennis in it. You still play?
Yeah, I do. Yeah. Still play. So it's a sport you can play forever. And It's not as expensive as golf. It's not as frustrating as golf. I'll say that. So did that, and then went to Stephen F. Austin, where let's just say I enrolled and kind of bounced around, and then eventually ended up at University of North Texas, where I graduated.
Yeah.
And then right out of college, I did, the cool phrase is supply chain.
Yeah.
Nah, man, I sold freight.
Yeah.
Let's break it down to what it really is.
Yeah.
I sold freight, and the way that the business part of it that I was in worked was that the more product you brought in, the more you made for your owner.
Yeah.
So you would have these thresholds where you wouldn't get paid a commission unless there was a 40 to 50% profit margin.
Okay.
Well, that's hard to do. If there was no competition, that would be hard to do.
Yeah.
And so after a while, it was just kind of got monotonous and kind of boring. And let's talk LTL and, bunker adjustment fees on ocean. It's just not again. So that's when I was talking to Brad Dean.
Yeah.
And Brad said, you should call my buddy Jeremy.
Yeah.
His brother owns a company, blah, blah, blah. And so that's really how I'm in real estate, because of you.
Yeah.
That truly is the reason that I'm here now.
Well, I just remember me, you, and Boozer went and ate at that Chinese restaurant.
Bang Bang. You called it Bang Bang, right? I was like, dude, this is wild. They call this place Bang Bang. And everybody's like yelling at each other.
Yeah.
It's like, this
what do you want?
This is actually kind of cool. I kind of like this.
Yeah. So, So, Brad, we'd actually wanted to hire Brad too, but I think the wound was pretty fresh with him. He was at Fisher.
He was at Fisher.
I think he felt like he just got ran through the ringer over there. And, as they, from what I hear.
What I hear. Yeah, that's a tough starting point.
Yeah.
To go right into that national account status.
Yeah. Yeah.
The best possible starting point is Mercer, Robert Lynn, Stream.
Yeah.
Boots on the ground. You got to learn how to do it first. You got to learn that. There's a reason there's a phrase that's called back to basics.
Right.
It always falls back to that. So.
Yeah. So Brad hooks us up, and Jeff interviews you, and, away we go. So, I don't know if you want to tell your story of your first.
Well, the first, where do we want to start?
Yeah.
I mean, what's the first the first day, the first cold call. I remember my very first cold call with Jeff.
Yeah.
Okay. And it was in that Marcus and Brockwood area. Yeah. And so I'm all pumped up, I'm ready to go. I'm like, man, this is great. Real estate, blah, blah, blah. I got Jeff with me. Everything's awesome. We walk up, knocking on the door. The guy opens the door, says, hey, can I help you? I said, hi, I'm Matt. Just like that, the guy says, hello, Matt. And then Jeff jumps in. I was like, what is this? What did I get myself into here? I froze up immediately.
Oh, that's
that first
funny.
cold call with Jeff, we've gone over all this training, how to do it. I ready to rock. Let's start this new career. And hi, I'm Matt.
Yeah.
Was the first thing that I said. And there was about 5 seconds.
Yeah.
And it seemed like an eternity.
Eternity.
Oh, brutal.
Funny.
But yeah, I remember that clearly how awful that was. But is what it is now.
Yeah. No. I just remember the first day you rode around with me. We were just like,
oh man,
we were Redbird all over the place.
We were everywhere, and I didn't want to. In one of the stops that we made, you were doing a presentation.
Yeah.
A tenor rep presentation, probably.
Yeah.
And so I didn't know what was going on. I just knew to just stay still, keep your mouth shut. And then, again, it's all these weird little details. I can't tell you what I did yesterday, but I can remember these little details.
Yeah.
Remember on your binder, the binder clip came loose. Mm-hmm. So I thought, oh, man, I have to help. So all I did was just meticulously put the ring back on there as if I'm some kind of savior. I'm going to save the day here because I'm going to make this binder better.
Yeah.
As you're going on, you're telling them, yeah, this option here, I don't like that. I don't like that. And I'm trying to listen as I'm trying to put this binder back together. But it's amazing all the little things that you remember. That's when you're starting off in a brand new career.
Yeah.
And this should be the one that, sets you up for life.
Yeah.
There are little details that you just remember that just never go away.
Right.
So
no, it's so let me ask you this. What made you think, I know Brad, kind of made that push, but you knew you were making someone else a bunch of other money. So what made you think did anything make you think real estate? And then Brad said, hey, you should call this guy? Or was it just kind of talking, hey, call this guy?
I wasn't thinking real estate really at all. I was in a position where I didn't really know. What I really wanted to do was move to Port Aransas and be a fishing guide.
Yeah.
But you talk about not even close to in the cards, doing that. But it wasn't even, I thought, okay, medical sales, everybody seems to do well. I haven't seen a soul who does medical sales working on a Friday.
Yeah.
They're all wearing shorts and flip-flops. Nothing against medical sales. Again, I'm going to have a lot of asterisks here. But they seem to do really well, seem to be comfortable, always very happy, maybe look into something like that. And so that might have been the reason I talked to Brad.
Yeah, because Britt was in medical. Brad was in medical
Brad was
sales.
in medical.
Britt was in medical sales.
And Britt was in as well.
So you had a conversation with one of them on a Friday in their flip-flops?
They were more than likely in flip-flops. More than likely, although I cannot.
It's funny because they're in real estate now.
They're both in real estate now. But yeah, and so Brad brought that up.
Yeah.
And my cousin back in the 80s, he lived in Austin, right?
Yeah.
And so, this is, in 82 or 83, I was 7 years old, right?
Yeah.
Well, we'd go to Cousin Mac's house, and he had 3 or 4 cars.
Yeah.
I remember he lived on Indian Mound Road in North Austin.
Yep.
And asking Cousin Max, what do you do? He said, I'm in real estate. I said, really? Okay. This was, 1982.
Yep.
But I never forgot that. And so the way he got his start, and I'm going to be about 70% correct on this, because it's been many years, a few Coors Lights since then. But he bought an acre of land, and he bought it for $300,000, something like that. He bought it. His dad co-signed for it. he could make it about 2 months on the payments before he was done.
Yeah.
And towards the middle of the second month, a developer came and said, I tell you what, I'll give you $800,000 for that piece of property.
Yeah.
And so just like that. So now he owns hundreds of acres, but he owns mobile home parks.
Okay.
That's what he does, just scattered all around. And he always did really well.
Yeah.
Always did really well. So that was always kind of in the back of my mind. There's a lot of things in the back of my mind. But, as opportunities come up like that, like with you and Jeff and Brad, they pop up. It's like, oh, I remember thinking about that. You have that aha moment. It's almost like a movie, right? It's like, oh, wow, yeah, because I was talking about this September of '82 when I was 7, like I knew anything. I knew that I liked peanut butter and jelly. That's about the extent of my knowledge back then. So however it works out, God doesn't make mistakes. I don't want to get too theological here, but that is a principle that I find to always be true.
Yeah.
So.
Well, no, it's you talk about the details, and I think that was something that you and I kind of grew up doing together in the business was the details. I mean, we literally set, kind of diagonal in a 4-way cube from each other, and it was, just, listening to each other's conversations all day long. And then
I learned a lot from that.
You know what I was thinking about just a minute ago, where, like, I don't know that this happens anymore, but I mean, every Saturday we were all at the office.
Every one of us.
All of us. It was like, wear your, workout gear to the office day. But everybody was there from 8 a.m. to 12.
Everybody was.
And I don't know that happens anymore.
I haven't seen it. That's not something that we, implement. It certainly helps.
Yeah.
It's certainly recommended that, don't wait till Monday to get everything ready for the week because you've immediately lost today.
Yeah.
Be ready to get out on the streets and do what you need to do.
It, when I was, when I had office at Mercer Company and I would walk over to the printer on a Monday and I see someone just printing all their calls up, I'll just kind of look at them and go, you've kind of already lost.
You've lost the week.
Except for Keenan Cook. He can do that.
He's an absolute machine.
Yeah.
Mowing the grass, dude.
Mowing the grass. But young guys, young guys starting out, I'm like, oh, you're cramming for the exam, huh? Like you should be ready to walk out of your Monday morning meeting and go straight to making calls. But that's what you walked out of there on Saturday morning or Saturday at noon and it's like, I'm done. Like, I don't have to think about it,
Not at all.
Maybe that's what some guys do now. They just don't think about it anyways,
That's fine until, it comes time for, okay,
shit gets hard.
Let's see how you doing.
Yeah. Well, before we stepped in here, we were kind of talking about this because you're raising up a team and the realization that this is a hard business, all these people that have, so the younger generation coming in have got to see their friends maybe get in a couple years ahead of them and not really have to do anything. It's not hard to make a deal when you have 4 offers to pick from.
Correct.
You don't have to be a rock. You're actually going to execute this because there's enough other people involved in it that they will make it happen.
That's right.
But when it's starting to get to the point now in the market, and I think the market's going to it is just the gears are locked up right now.
Yes, they are.
And you have to get you have to become a real estate person.
Yes, you do.
You don't have to just become a paper pusher.
That's right.
And I think the guys that learn how to do it, there's certain young guys that learn how to do it, and there's some guys where I'm just like,
probably not going to happen.
It's probably not going to happen. You can probably hang around the industry, but you're going to make a decent living, but you're never going to be a rock star, you know? But like I loved being there every Saturday morning.
It was great.
It was
the boiler room. It was a locker room.
It was a locker room.
That's what it was.
And But man, I think getting guys to do that now, they would look at you like you had 3 heads.
I know. It's hard to do, but the good thing is that what I've found about, the group that we have and even our interns, they're all really smart.
Yeah.
Really, really, really smart, highly educated. So it occurred to me that, a smart individual with drive should be okay.
Right.
Should be just fine. So the fact that, you can't teach intelligence, it's there or really it's not. Okay. Yeah. But you can teach how to do it to get the drive going. You can't start a car at 60 miles an hour. Just, hey man, it's good. It's got to get there. Right. You have to understand that it's got to get there. But to have the drive, you got to have the why.
Yeah.
Why are you doing this? And sometimes it's hard when you're in your 20s. Mm-hmm. Well, what is your why? You're not thinking about buying a house. You're not thinking about any of that. When I started, Kristen and I knew that we were going to start a family.
Yeah.
So, I was in my 30s. Yeah. So it's like, okay, my why is going to be, whenever our child is born, everything needs to be set and ready to go. So it's kind of hard for somebody to find a why. There's some that just have it.
Yeah.
They just have it naturally. They have that drive, and the majority of them are the athletes. Mm-hmm. They have that drive, the discipline to do what it takes. But it's not rocket science, like you said. It's just getting out, doing the work. I told a story. This is one of my favorites. Have you heard the pottery class story?
Mm-mm.
Okay. So there's a professor. He's got 2 groups of students. And again, I did not make this up.
Okay.
I stole this from a podcast that I heard however long ago or on YouTube, whatever. So this professor has 2 groups of students. Okay. Last semester class, pottery class. He takes one group. He says, okay, you're going to be graded on one thing and one thing only. And that is to make the perfect pot. Here it is. You spend this entire semester just making one perfect pot. They said, oh, this is going to be easy. Goes to the other group. He said, okay, you're going to be graded on one thing and one thing only, is to make as many pots as you can. You will be graded on pure volume.
Okay.
At the end of the semester, not only did the group with the most pots succeed and make the most pots, but they also made the perfect pot because of the reps, the continuous practice on getting it done over and over and over again. Not only did they achieve the volume, but they achieved the perceived perfection of the perfect pot.
Yeah.
And I love that because it really is about the reps. Get the practice over and over and over again, and you will perfect your craft, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Whatever you choose to do, you can't sit, wait, and hope. Mm-hmm. You can tinker with one thing, but all it takes for the one perfect pot is the small bit of pressure that breaks the whole thing.
Right.
And now it's gone. It's losing that one big deal you've been working on for 2 years. Now what do you have left? Now you break a few of these. Okay, I've got 100 more.
Yeah.
And so I've always loved that story when it relates to, sales or life. You can really mold that story into whatever you're doing to make it, give you more drive or more clarity or to better understand what it is that you're trying to do. Whatever it is in life, the only thing worth doing is worth doing right.
Right.
That's it. So if you're going to do it, make the most of it, do it over and over and over and over again, become the expert if that's what you want to do, then do it that way. So I've always loved the pottery class story. It's one of my favorites.
That's a really good story.
It is a good one.
Again, I really like that.
Not mine.
Everything everyone has is stolen. He stole that from someone else.
Yes, he did.
It's all in Proverbs.
That is correct. God don't make mistakes.
Everything that anybody's ever said on the internet has already been stated in Proverbs. So.
Yeah, it's like Noel Gallagher with Oasis said that. They said, a lot of your songs sound like other songs. He said, yeah, I lifted them. He said, I'm not a genius. I'm just a fan of music.
Yeah.
That's
all it is. there's a term called steal like an artist.
Yes.
You know, but that pottery story is pretty interesting. You know, you always hear the guy that's like always trying to get ready to make cold calls, but never goes and makes them. That's the guy trying to make the one perfect pot.
To make the one perfect pot. And if it works, great.
Yeah.
But the disadvantage to the one perfect pot working is that he's going to try it again. He or she is going to try it again.
Yeah.
And eventually it's going to fail.
Yeah.
It's going to fail. And then you've lost X amount of time and effort that you can't get back.
Well, you know, it's funny. In the beginning of your career in this thing, you know, making cold calls is it's the work part. It's a lot of the work part. Then as you get older, you can't make as many cold calls because you're so knee deep in transactional work.
Yes.
That making cold calls is actually therapeutic and fun at some point. You're like, this is kind of fun. You know,
I love going on the calls with the new brokers.
Yeah.
Because they're all new markets. You know, I'm good for about 10 before I'm like, okay, I've seen this before. You know, the ultimate goal of the cold call, and this is what needs to be, you know, very clear, is not just so you can make 10 and get back to the office. You got to find something. You're trying to find something in there. It's a numbers game, but not just so, you know, on your monthly report, you can say, I made this many cold. Find something in there. You know, this is something you have to find. It's not just, oh, okay, I got the info, check that box.
Yeah.
That's not how this works. You know that, I know that, but sometimes it has to be, you know, reinforced.
Yeah. Yesterday I was in Oklahoma City, and I mean, I can't tell you the last time I really made a cold call. But you know, there's in the business that on the side of the table I'm in now, there's kind of a constant capital raising aspect to it. And I was like, you know, man, I'm just going to take street broker mentality to capital raising.
No reason not to.
Nobody, because I don't think any of those guys really do that. It's country clubs, stuff like that. And you know, I was never born into that. So
neither I.
So I was up there and I was like, I'm going to call, you know, I have this database that tells me who family offices are or whatever. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to go call. There's 3 of them up there.
Right.
And it was like, it was so fun. My first cold call was on Loves.
Oh,
like, you
really?
know, I was like, hell yeah, this is going to be fun. They have a compound up there, and I walk up. It's all access controlled, but the lady's like washing the window, and, you know, and she doesn't even speak English. I'm like, hey, I need to be here. And she's like, oh, let me open this for you. You know, it clicks me in. I walk in, and I'm like, I'm here. They're like, who are you here to see? I'm like, oh, so-and-so. And, you know, and it's funny because I had, you know, 3 guys with their family office. You know, they house their family office within their compound.
How big is that compound?
Oh, gosh, it's probably, I don't know, probably 200,000 feet of office. You know? Anyways, I didn't get to see the guy, but I had the right guy, and I found out I had the right building on this compound. You know, so I mean, it was like, oh, when I come back, you know, I'm gonna call it. You know, I got all fired up. I was like, oh, I got this, and then I called another family office, and I kind of got through to someone there. I was like, oh man, I'm gonna get this done.
Absolutely. And so you're just walking in, right?
Just walking in.
There you go.
You know,
how far would you have gotten on the phone? You've reached somebody who would have transferred you to somebody else. Then you're back, and then all of a sudden it's disconnected. Hey, I don't know what happens. It's easier to be, you can be whoever you want to be over the phone. Yeah. Especially on the other side. Yeah. But when you walk in, like, you know, you've got a presence about you. When you walk in, there's a confidence that's already there. Yeah. And so that, you know, you walk in with good posture and, hey, I'm looking for this person. Yeah. Nobody who gets in your way is going to intercept you and say no. Yeah, it's not going to happen. Right, not going to happen.
No, it was you know, and I had to leave behind. Right, you know, I was like, I got to have something to leave this guy. You know, and it's, you know, just a, you know, like a 2-page fold out on us and what we do and all that stuff. And but I was like, oh, I'm all geeked out to do this because I've built this database of all these family offices. I'm like, I'm gonna go meet everybody, you know. So
well, while you're up there, make the most of your time.
Well, yeah, no, you know, we looked at a couple deals, and you know, and you know, but and then do that too, you know. I mean, those, you know, I don't know how that world works, honestly, that well. All the equity I've raised has been just kind of through hustling up old brokerage clients, and we've got some larger partners now. But I was like, I can do this on a lot larger scale if I have a lot more firepower, and so I'm like,
because and you're successful because you know how to do it on a smaller scale.
Yeah,
you started with, hey, I think I've got this thing. Like when you and I had lunch.
Yeah.
And on the napkin, you said, dude, I figured it out, bro.
Yeah.
Spellman, I figured out how they're doing it.
Yeah.
And you scribbled it out. I thought, wow, that looks right.
Yeah.
And you've taken that principle from that napkin that you did that quick math on.
Yeah.
And there you are.
Yeah. No, it's been fun. It's been a good journey. It's been a good transition to kind of do something new. It's different, kind of building a team. You're kind of building a team now, and that's kind of fun to me because I was always a lone wolf, really. And I feel like in brokerage, that's probably where I belong, is a lone wolf. But in this, you need an army to handle this.
You have to.
And well, why don't you touch on that, man? Like, tell me about the team you're building. I think that's a great person for those guys to learn from.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Again, they're all very, very smart. Certainly smarter than me.
Yeah.
They're very young in their 20s. A lot of them right out of college. We've got 4 or 5 brokers that have been there a while.
Yeah.
And then we decided to go ahead and train them the way. Matthew Hickey is my partner in this, and he's been instrumental in helping grow the team and build the team. But just each one of them has almost a completely different set of skills.
Yeah.
And so trying to find the skills that they have and harness them to not just make the cold calls, but understand the business. The good thing is they, once they learn something, they retain it.
Yeah.
It's not something that has to be over and over and over again. And, our plan is no secret.
Yeah.
It's 50 cold calls a week.
Mm-hmm.
Here it is. Eat lunch in your car.
Yep.
You do your tours from 1:30 to 4:30. I mean, it's organize your day on the weekends, organize your week for the next week. It's no secret what this is. It's the matter of execution.
Yeah.
That's the hardest part. So very young, various, different backgrounds, very well educated, but they all have that look in their eye like, I want to make it.
Yeah.
I'm going to make it. Sometimes the initial cold call can be a little, it can overcome you.
Yeah.
It can really just kind of send you into this little ball, especially if, you go like 0 for 10, which happens all the time.
Sure.
Or somebody asks you to leave, shows you the gun. My favorite was when they let the dog off the leash. The dog's name was always Thor or Zeus, something like that.
Chopper, sick balls.
Chopper, sick balls. Yes, I like that reference, by the way. So they're driven in their own. They all have their own different kind of why.
Yeah.
They're all young enough to where they understand that the opportunity that they have is huge.
Yeah.
Getting into Dallas-Fort Worth real estate, it's hard to do. That's hard to get into where somebody will give you a submarket and train you, give you an office, supply all these things for you, because there's a lot of folks that want in on this.
It's the NFL.
It is.
It's the NFL.
The NFL.
Especially for industrial.
Here we are.
It's so crazy that, we work other markets, but other markets are 150 million feet.
Yeah.
When you hear Austin, you hear San Antonio, it's 150, 100. That's a neighborhood.
That is.
In Dallas.
That is a neighborhood.
We are turning into a metropolis. There's 1.2 billion feet of industrial. I mean,
seems to me that out of 1.2 billion square feet, you can probably carve out just a little piece and be set for life.
I worked 22 million feet.
Do you?
I did. I mean, that's what when I dumped Redbird and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And I was like, I worked 2 exits off of I-35. I worked Regal Row. I'm sorry, 3. I worked from Regal Row, Mockingbird to Inwood.
Yep.
And that was it.
That was it.
Past Inwood, I didn't go past Inwood, and I didn't go to the other side of the levee. And I just worked in that little pocket.
And you did great.
Yeah, it worked out pretty well.
You don't have to go to the end of the pier to catch fish.
Yeah.
I use a lot of fishing references.
Sure.
Well, that one is mine.
You're a fisherman.
Yeah, I'm a fisherman. Again, the submarket, the math will dictate, what is it? 95% of everybody that moves stays within 5 miles.
Yeah.
There you go. Stay put.
They're all right there.
Be the expert,
Yeah.
Forrest, Miller, Plano, those were that was it.
Yeah.
I didn't need to go anywhere. And, I remember the days in our meetings.
Mm-hmm.
I would have something available. Somebody, you or Jeff or Boozer, I'm looking for this. And I would ask, would they go to Garland?
Yeah.
Ugh. No. We're not going to Garland. Like, okay.
Yeah.
I'll continue to ask that. And over the last 3 to 5 years, would they go to Garland? Yeah. Is there something in Garland? It's just amazing how the tides have turned.
Yeah.
For Garland is embracing who they are.
Being Garland?
Yeah. They, when people leave Garland, they move to Richardson or Plano. Like, I've made the big time.
That's moving across the road.
Yeah, man. Yeah. But Garland has embraced who they are.
Yeah.
And it's, there's some more technology moving and, but it's still blue collar, man. There's some great developments going on there, but it's, don't forget who you are, where you came from.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's almost applicable to municipalities, you know, and they've embraced it. And now there's 2% vacancy, maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Garland is Irving's cousin.
Yes.
Garland, when you look at the real estate development, Irving probably should have been the primest real estate in the DFW Metroplex.
Yeah, agreed.
There is more multifamily in Irving than in any city in Dallas-Fort Worth.
Is that right?
Yeah. I don't know if that's exactly right, but I'll tell you, if you go on CoStar and look,
sure,
and you go city by city, it's daunting how much blotch of things come up. And Garland's the opposite. It's not the opposite, but the asset class it picked was industrial.
Sure. And it did well.
And so I always say that, they're like sister cities, because they're very just, they're not going to really, there's not a great economic area of Irving.
Okay.
People call that, I guess you could say Las Colinas.
Sure.
As they try to distance themselves from Irving, because people think Las Colinas is another town. But
obviously didn't go to the Byron Nelson.
In my opinion, north of Esther's was not even really Irving growing up. Like, that wasn't an area. That was another town. I'm sure there's a neighborhood like that in Garland or something. But
absolutely. If you go north 78, you go past the George Bush up there in Garland, right on the golf course. Yeah, that's night and day difference.
But the mass of it is just, I don't know what the price of a home like that is now, but call it $150,000 home, $200,000 home. That's what it was.
Yeah, not anymore.
Or that's what it is. And so I always just thought that was funny. I think Garland and all that's the same thing. So, okay. Besides your 5-second eternity cold call, give me another funny one. I know you got some just great ones.
All right, I've got a lot. I don't want to I'm not really throwing anybody under the bus. Okay, so there was this was 10 years ago. Okay. So this is, I was maybe, this may have been 2013. Mm-hmm. So I'd been in the business 2 years. And so I'd been making the calls, doing it, and it was starting to happen. Everything was great. And so I cold called this company. It was an HVAC company. And I walked in, and they had the stack of cards from every other broker. I was like, okay, let's see how we can wade through these, hey, look at me waters. So eventually, it paid off. They said, okay, here's what we need. We need 10 to 15,000 feet, but it has to be sprinklered and it has to be standalone. So if you can find that, okay. It's like, dude, Well, I knew my availables, and I knew them. I knew there was one. There was one. It was 548 Forest Center Plaza. Online, release, sprinkler, clear height wasn't the best. Thought, let's go, hop in the car, let's go. We're going to go look at it. It's like, oh, it kind of took him by surprise. I said, I'll tell you what, I'll call the broker. Let's go look at it tomorrow, and let's do it. He said, it's sprinklered, right? Said, yep, it's sprinklered. Said, okay, awesome. And they did some welding back there, and so their insurance requirements and their corporate, they needed the sprinkler system. So the broker on it, we show up the next day. Broker's just the sweetest little thing. Residential brokers, super sweet and bubbly and loving life. And so, I pull up there with my guys, and we walk in. There's a lot of office. There's some drop ceiling. And I remember looking at the drop ceiling. I thought, I don't see that sprinkler head out of there. Oh, no. Okay. I said, all right, let's just keep walking. So they immediately go to the warehouse, and they look up, and they said, there are no sprinklers in here. And so I'm like, oh no, what do I do here? And so I can't remember her name. She's super sweet. She comes back over. I said, hey, I thought you said this was sprinkler. She said, oh, it is. Here, follow me. I thought, okay. So my guys come with me. We walk, and I see her turn this corner, and I look up, and she's going to a box, and on the box it says Rainbird for the sprinkler system in the small patch of grass.
The irrigation.
And I thought, oh, no. Oh. Yeah, sprinklered, because it has sprinkler heads for the small. And so I'm like, oh, no. So we walk up, and she opens up the Rainbird, and one of my guys is standing right here. And I could just see him doing, the Stewie Griffin. Looking at me, I could just see his head turning, looking at me as she, bless her heart, as she fiddles with this sprinkler system. And it didn't even turn on. Oh, so it was like, you talk about a double whammy.
Oh, man.
And so that was the end of the tour. Because I was so sure about it, and there wasn't anybody in there, so I hadn't been in to verify that. But, every other bill. That's why I knew that with Cooper, Brett Lewis, Whitmer, Josh Barnes, whatever was there on my availables was accurate.
Yeah.
I knew that they were always going to be accurate, but it never occurred to me that sprinkler system would be for the 200 square feet of grass.
Yeah.
That's right there, that the Rainbird didn't even work anyway.
Yeah.
So that was remarkably embarrassing. But nevertheless, decent story. That there's one on Interurban that I sold for Fred Bolands. Mm-hmm. And Interurban's an interesting street. There's a car dealership on one side, and all the buildings are just very narrow, and they're all just lined up along there, and the dart rail goes right behind them. And it was vacant with the exception of one little bitty tenant that was in there. And so the week before, I had learned about cap rates, okay? And I'm not the best math guy. I can add and subtract and multiply, division, throw a decimal in there, and I'm out the door, right? So we had just learned about cap rates and how they work. So I was like, oh, okay, that's cool. So the buyer and their real estate attorney show up. He's in the bail bonds business, right? He's a bail bondsman. We walk in there, and he's looking, and his real estate attorney says, okay, what's the cap rate on this? I wouldn't have known what she was asking had I not learned the week before. I said, well, there's no cap rate. This isn't an investment. This is just a month-to-month tenant right there. This is an owner-user. So I'm like, dude, check me out, man. I know what I'm talking about, right? And so the buyer goes in, he's looking around. He's like, I don't like this. I said, okay, tell me what you don't like about it. I can't fix it.
Yeah.
But I can at least know, when I talk to Fred, tell him, what you didn't like about it. And right about the time as he's on the fifth thing he doesn't like about it, the DART train goes by. And I said, look, man, how many of your future clients were on that DART that just went by? you're in the bail bonds business, right? He said, yeah. I said, well, how many times does that dart go by? How many folks in there wouldn't mind seeing a big old bail bond sign as they're on their way to whatever they're doing in the dart? I said, would that make a difference at all? He bought the building.
That's genius.
And so
that's genius on your feet.
Yeah, it was. And again, I'm not trying to disparage or say anything bad about anyone that rides the dart. It was a Hail Mary, last minute, hey, what do you think about this? Putting your sign on the back of your building.
Yeah.
So that you have dart traffic all day long, big old bail bonds. You're bound to get something out of that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, he bought it.
God, what a great on your toes.
Man, it was a tough building to sell. I haven't been there in a long time. So I don't.
It hadn't needed a bail bond.
No, I guess
get bailed out.
He was in there. He was still in there 4 years after I sold it. So
yeah,
apparently, he had this big old gorilla dude was, like his guy in there. He always answered the door when I went by.
Yeah.
Hey, you remember me? No. It's the end of this conversation. Yeah. Okay. It's the end of that. So those are just two that I can.
That's interesting, but like let's how about like just a crazy deal you pulled off or very unique? Like we always kind of have that one. I guess maybe you're something that just was falling apart. Like honestly, I saw one yesterday. You don't have to talk about that one if that's not it, but like when you Jericho run, or something like that.
Yeah. Santa Ana was a Jericho run. So MPI Wood was in 20,000 feet, right off of Miller Asset, that area right there. And so the first time I called on them was July of 2011.
Okay.
And talked to Jason and Carly. Kept going in, said, no, we don't need anything. No, we don't need anything. And then in 2013, right in the beginning, they said, hey, we need 15,000 feet additional. Big D Bolt said, just go right across the street.
Yeah.
There wasn't a sign, wasn't anything. I'll talk to the broker. We'll get you in there. Boom, got him in there. So that's immediate credibility, right? So I keep speaking with them, talking to them. Then they say, look, we need like 250,000 feet. So that's great. I called Jeff, said, hey, Jeff, MPI needs 250,000 feet. Shut the blank up. Said, no, they really do. And so we looked at 4040 Forest Lane, the old international building. Looked at that. They wanted it. I said, okay, let's get this process started. Give me your financials. Let's start there. And they had a factoring company.
Yeah, I remember this.
They factored everything. So owner said, I'd love to, but if something happens with one or two of their vendors, then it's all over. And I didn't really, again, I learned what factoring was right then and there.
Right.
And understood kind of how it worked. But I had 3 backup options just in case, pottery class, just in case.
Yep.
And the one that they settled on was Santa Ana, but it was for sale only. And thank goodness Pete Richardson was the broker on that.
Mm-hmm.
And so I went to Pete and said, dude, would they lease this? He says, for sale. Would they lease this? He's like, all right, let me see what we can do. So he said, okay, they'll do a lease. What kind of term do you want? So we want 10 years, bro. Yeah, let's do 10. Let's do 10.
Let's do that 10.
So I said, but we got to have a new roof. He said, how am I going to give you a new roof for a lease? So I'm going to try not to
Arizona
it, and we can touch on the Arizona story. So we get it all negotiated. We have a call with the owners. The roof is going to be put on, 10-year lease, and the owner of MPI, owner of the building, hated each other.
Oh, no.
And it was from the first minute they didn't get along. And they were going back and forth because the building wasn't going to be ready and they needed an additional month of gross free rent.
Yeah.
And the owner said, no, I'm not going to do that. Not going to do that. And they said, well, we can't do this. Yeah. And so it was just crumbling apart. So I thought, Boozer was talking about a Jericho run that he did on that building in, I think it was in Arlington or something like that. He had just learned in Sunday school about the fall of the walls of Jericho. I thought, I'm doing it. I'm doing it. I got to, man. This is a huge, huge deal for me. This was in 2014 when it finally, this is November 2014. And so I get there on a Sunday morning, and this is 84,000 feet, and I'm going through fences and brush, and there's rail behind it, and a couple dudes living there. And so I did. I ran around it 7 times. That Sunday morning, just prayed out loud the entire time. Probably looked like a crazy person there. That Monday, we looked back at the lease. I called MPI and said, you don't need that additional month of gross rent because the lease doesn't commence for another month and you've already paid your first month's rent up front. That gives you your 30 days and it doesn't affect your accounting. Lease signed.
Woo! It's awesome.
And so there were a ton of other details that went into that, but that's the crux of it. That's in a nutshell. And I'm 3 for 3 on Jericho runs. I don't want to do them all the time.
No.
Did it on a building on Sandon. Did a Jericho run.
I've done 2 of them.
Have you? How'd they work out?
Both worked. I did it on my children's distribution deal.
Oh,
and
that's solid.
I did it on a deal in Brook Hollow. It's funny. It's a building. If you listen to the episode with me and Matt Elliott, I was talking about a building that George Musa owns. And when I put that tenant in that deal, I Jericho run that thing. Cutting through the fences, running through the rail bed, just running it.
You got to do it.
It was last night we all went and watched the Maverick game at Mercer Company's office, and I got there early and I just went and walked all the streets back there behind it and the Trinity and all that stuff. And I was like, golly, man. Like Motor Circle. I was like,
Motor Circle, boy, what a win.
I lived here when I was 20s,
Yeah.
And it was just, all those old buildings and just running. It's such an interesting, but the Jericho run, pretty sure it's undefeated.
Undefeated.
Yeah.
It's undefeated for me.
Yeah.
And again, you can't just, hey, look, worry about nothing, pray about everything, right?
Right.
But keep that Jericho run, let that thing.
Yeah.
If it's dying and, you think, look, it's gone. In fact, I'll give you the Sandon story.
Okay.
The Sandon Jericho run. Tufon Rugs was in 12,000 feet on Miller Road.
Okay.
And they said, look, we want to buy a building. I said, okay. So what do you need? They said, we need like 25,000 feet. And I said, boom, it's right there. Called Stephen Cooper. I said, Coop, you need to come see this building. He said, okay. So we look at it, and my group, they said, look, we love it. Make the offer. I make the offer on a Thursday. Coop calls me Friday morning. He said, hey, look, I got another group that made the same offer, but they were willing to put up $20,000 firm immediately. It was immediate. Said as soon as we signed the LOI, the money is going into escrow and the contract is executed. The $20,000 goes to my owner.
Yeah,
it's like So I called Tufon and said, hey, here's what happened. A group said that just to put it under contract, they would give $20,000 non-refundable earnest money. I said, I cannot recommend you do that. So just don't do it. They said, well, what if we do 30? I said, look, you can, but I wouldn't. You don't want to do that. You don't want to pay for a car before you test drive it. You have no idea what's going on here. That was on a Friday. Coop said, hey, sorry, man. You know, he's very professional about it. But Sunday morning, I did a Jericho run, 7 a.m.
Yeah.
On that, I had to go through the trucking company back there, and there was like a guard there. He's like, what are you doing? I said, here's exactly what I'm doing. Yeah. And he thought that was the coolest thing he's ever heard, dude.
Yeah.
So I did that run. There wasn't any access on the back, so I had to do a whole bunch of half moons. Mm-hmm. Just did 14 half moons.
Yep.
That Monday, Coop calls me. He said, hey, the guy that said we would do the non-refundable earnest money didn't get approval to do that. So everything has since been terminated, and that guy's no longer with the company. Does your group still want it? And they're still in there today.
Oh, man.
It was, and, you know, honestly, props to Stephen Cooper.
Yeah.
You know, he's a pro. Mm-hmm. He knew. He's like, look, he knew what to do. He knew that we had it. He could have called anybody else, but he said, hey, if your guys want it, you've got it.
Yeah.
So
that's awesome.
Yeah, that was kind of that was unreal.
Yeah.
That it happened that way. It couldn't have happened any other way for us to get that building.
Yeah.
So that was a fun one.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
What a great story.
No, that was wild. That was a wild one, dude.
Okay, so we could probably do this for 5 hours.
Oh, easily.
So we'll just do it again, probably.
Fine with me.
But so, what do you feel? What do you feel are some of your go-to things that have just made you successful? That have put you where you are today.
The go-to things that have made me successful, the consistency.
Yeah.
Doing it every day, understanding that it's not going to be a quick payoff. Mm-hmm. You know, most people in sales do it for a quick sale, a quick payoff. To have the understanding that if you consistently do this, there is a light at the end of the tunnel.
Yep.
And it will pay off. It's the Greatest Salesman in the World. It's a great book.
Yeah.
And that touches on that. I recommend that everybody read that.
It's a tough one.
It's
a 10-month read.
10-month read. If you do it right,
change your life.
It will change your life. The consistency. I also have the why. Mm. You know, I want to make sure, my wife and I want to make sure that we're comfortable and our son's taken care of.
Yeah.
And everything's set up. And it's amazing when you have children, how your perspective on everything changes. Another thing that's made me, I'm real good at deflecting confrontation.
Yeah.
I'm real good at, if I walk in there and you just dog me, okay, doesn't bother me.
Yeah.
I'm not going to ask you to go to a happy hour with me or do anything other than, transact.
Yeah.
So that thought of, I don't know them personally.
Yeah.
I don't know them outside of work. They certainly don't know me. I am remarkably easy to get along with.
Yeah.
But that knowledge and I had to work on that, when I walk in, I'm coming into their place unannounced. Mm-hmm. It's not like they invited me in.
Yeah.
So the ability to understand that you are, infringing on their
You're
time.
An uninvited guest.
You're an uninvited guest. Yeah. So to expect anything other than pushback would be ridiculous.
Yeah.
They have a job to do. They're trying to do it, and you're in there trying to do something for them that they do every 3 years.
Right.
So you have to understand that it's nothing against you. It's the presence of you while they have other things going on.
Something that you do, and it might just be but you always say that's positive.
Positive.
That's positive.
That's positive. Yeah.
When I think of Matt Spellman, I think of that's positive.
That's positive. Yeah. That's a good. I learned that from the freight business. You know, the two keywords, positive and aggressive. Yeah. Well, that's positive. Yeah. Let's be aggressive about this.
Yeah.
That's positive. So positive is just kind of a cool word. It can't be misconstrued as anything other than what it is.
Yeah.
You know,
it's not negative.
It's not negative. There's nothing about it. Nothing about it that's negative. No. So there are plenty of others. You know, knowing your market, knowing my market is key.
Sure.
The availables, knowing what's available. Boy, that's huge.
Yeah.
That is so huge. It's immediate credibility.
Yeah.
So, but I think the first three are really the reason that.
Yeah. It's a great answer. Honestly, I really like that because that is something I've seen you in some dicey situations with people, and you're very cool head with that stuff.
Thank you.
And cooler heads usually prevail. So
thank you.
Well, what about a book? Maybe you touched on that, but maybe there's another one. You know,
I don't really read anything like truly motivational.
Yeah.
The Greatest Salesman in the World. That is something that everybody needs to read.
Yeah.
Again, it's a 10-month read if you do it right.
Right.
If you read the scrolls, you have to read them out loud. Again, whoever reads it will understand. The book I'm reading right now is called Until I Come Home. It's one of my dad's books.
Okay.
My great-grandfather was in World War I, was in the trenches in France. And while he was in the trenches, he wrote all these letters to my great-grandmother. And 5 years ago, my dad discovered all of these letters. And being a historian,
that's like a gold mine.
It was a gold mine. All these stacks of letters that he had written to my great-grandmother. And it basically details the war. It details the war. So these letters along with the story. And, my great-grandfather made it through the war unscathed.
Wow.
And then one of his employees, after the war was sick. And he had, I'm not to that part in the book, but I know the story. And my great-grandfather said, I'm going to go see him anyway. He's one of my best friends, and he contracted it and died. That's how he passed. He made it through World War I.
Wait, what did he contract?
It was meningitis. I kind of Arizonaed that.
You kind of Arizonaed that.
Right.
Glad
it was,
you did that.
and we'll explain the Arizona thing, but contracted meningitis and passed away after making it through war. So that's the book I'm on now. It's called Until I Come Home.
Good. I mean, look at like Chris Kyle. Could you imagine going through all that and you come back here and you're trying to help someone, and that's how it goes down?
It's absolutely brutal.
Brutal, man.
All of that. Well, and you hear about the car wreck. Well, I just got back from doing this, deployed and all this, and then somebody breaks into their home. It's just, of course, those are the ones that you hear about.
Yeah.
But there are just so many,
there's so many
countless others.
What, let's touch on Arizona.
Okay. The Arizona thing. Do you want to give the outline, or you want me to just start with the Arizona story? Because I have it nutshelled.
Yeah, let's do the outline. I think we got some time for that.
Okay.
So do the outline of it.
Okay, so at Mercer, we're somewhere talking about something. And, I came up. Where did you, how'd you and your wife meet, So, well, kind of weird story because she was from Detroit, and I met her on Lake Texoma, and she had a boyfriend, and then I went to Arizona and we got engaged. And everybody's like, hold on, time out. What just happened here?
Yeah.
What just happened here? And so that was my explanation of how I met my wife. So again, early on in the days, with Mercer, I was struggling with the details.
Yeah.
You and Jeff say, no, hold on. Don't Arizona this. We need to know exactly what's going on. And man, that has stuck. And I've said that before to others who aren't wise to the whole Arizona thing. I said, look, I'm not going to Arizona this. And that immediately creates confusion. Like, hold on, wait. Arizona.
Yeah.
what does that mean?
Yeah.
So then I have to explain Arizona, and I've completely lost whatever audience, that I was trying to get, because now I've gone onto a different state that makes no sense into what we were talking about. So yes, the Arizona, that's
the Arizona story.
That's the Arizona story. So
be clear. If you're ever not making something clear, you're Arizonaing it.
Yes, you are. And that's something that I have tried to get better at and always working towards, because in my mind I know it.
Yeah.
So if you just do this, 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 and this.
Yeah.
And it's done. It's easy, right? No, it's not.
I'd always think of one story of us was when we would have the Mercer Company dove hunt at Jeff's Ranch. You and I would get there, and like immediately at the time the truck crossed the line off of Old Mount Home Road, it was like Coors Lights were flying.
It was like a commercial. That's exactly what it was. All we needed was the banner in the back and a camera, and it was a Coors Light commercial. Yes, we're still driving. However, we are on a farm to market road, and everything's fine. And it didn't take long.
No.
I mean, as soon as we made that, before we got to the gate, to go into that first pasture.
Oh, it was
so great. And you don't miss the dove hunt.
No.
Y'all still do that, right?
Yeah.
Dove hunt, good.
Yeah. But I remember it was Saturday morning, and I was like, Spellman. It was like 10 a.m. and I needed a beer. I was like, we're out of beer.
That's right, because you called Jeff. He shows up in 45 minutes.
Oh, he's like flying in with like...
I heard there was an emergency. Oh, man, those trips. You were with us when Jeff hit the pig in the truck, right?
My gosh.
Were you in the truck?
I was behind it.
You were in our truck. We were singing the Hollies.
Yeah.
The Air That I Breathe.
Yeah.
At 5:30 in the morning.
Yeah.
Yeah, again, another
that
story.
Was scary, man.
That was scary. Adam Kern, that's right. Adam was in the truck with Jeff.
We don't have time for all these stories. I think about when I pissed on the rattlesnake and shit.
That was so wonderful, dude.
God, we're gonna have to have a second episode.
I'm down with that. So many.
Well, I always like asking this. What's something unique about you, or something really no one knows about you that no one knows about you?
That no one knows about me in a business
or not
sense?
Most people do. Just whatever. Like you can dunk a basketball or whatever.
Cannot dunk a basketball.
Yeah. I didn't think you could, so I wouldn't lean into that one.
It's okay. Well, let's see. I'm 7 for 10 saving turtles crossing highways.
7 for 10.
7 for 10. Yeah, I'll pull over.
You always will do that. You will always stop. I remember there was a massive snake one time. You're like, hold on, let me go move him. I was like, kill him. You're like, no.
Can't kill him. Can't kill him. I'm very adaptable to my whatever situation it is.
Yeah.
I can mold myself to be a part of that situation if need be.
Yeah.
That's something that I've kind of always been that way.
Yeah.
If we need to be involved or speak about sports, I can do that. Nature, I can do that. If there's any situation that I'm put in, more often than not, I'll be fine.
Yeah.
I may not like them, like the big social situations where, hey, look at me, and all the awesomeness of what everybody is. Really good at just, okay, I'll get in there. I'll find something in common. I'll find a way to adapt to whatever situation that I am put into or I put myself into.
Cool. Well, that's what makes you a good broker.
Thank you, sir.
You can deal with a lot of different clients.
Yeah, I learned a lot. I have to say this, I learned so much by listening to you and Boozer, just listening to you. And I distinctly remember not understanding one term. And I remember looking it up. It's like, what Jeremy keeps saying this. And I looked it up. I was like, I can't find it. And so in our broker meeting, I finally said, Jeremy, what is a cool deep? Because I didn't know.
Yeah,
I had been looking for what a cool deep was.
Yeah.
And I was like, it wasn't even in my real estate classes. what is a cool deep? And I tried to break down the root word. I was like, I don't even know how to spell it.
Yeah.
You know? And so that, I remember that.
That's so funny.
Cool
Joel,
Deep.
and so the context for that, Cool Deep is a very long-term client of mine.
Yes.
And his name's Cool Deep.
And I had no clue.
And I was always doing deals with them.
What's a Cool Deep? It drove me crazy. And finally, I was like, I got to ask, what's a Cool Deep?
Yeah.
Did not know.
Well, let's wrap it up on that, man.
You got it, EB. This is so great, dude.
This is great.
Is awesome.
We've got many more of these. There's the vault is so deep.
The vault
on these.
is so deep underground. There's so many stories.
Yeah.
Dude. So,
well, EB, it's great. It's always great to see you.
Always
glad
EB.
People can hear your story and love you, man.
Love you too, buddy. Thanks for having. It's an honor to be here. It really and truly is.
Absolutely,
and I enjoyed every second of it, bro.
Matt Spellman, people. Thank you.
Thank you very much.